You kept it going a long time. It would seem to me the challenge becomes when you were a kid growing up, you were one of the people you were writing about. Now you're a 52-year-old multimillionaire, right? It becomes a little more difficult for you to identify, or for people to identify with you and for you to identify with them.
Well, that's my job, and my job is to make that happen. You know, that's, if I'm not doing that, then I'm not doing well. You know.
No, but what I'm asking, Bruce, is it more difficult now? In other words,
No.
do you have a harder time identifying?
No. And I think that people sort of mistake the way that writers write when it comes to musicians, because as a musician, I write my music, and I'm the voice of my music in that sense. And while I'm the voice of my music, I'm singing in the voice of many, many other characters. But I'm working like a writer. In other words, a big part of the time, I'm using my imagination, which you had to do from day one. Didn't matter, you know, if you're in this house or that house, or you made this much money this year or that much. The basic thing is the act of writing is the act of imagination. And hopefully you get better at that as you go. But it does take will and insistence to maintain those connections. It's a psychically challenging job. I think the hardest thing is getting through that first shot of success. It takes an enormous leap of consciousness.
So many people in your business screwed up their lives with booze and drugs, and I mean, you didn't say that, but that was sort of what you were implying. I mean, a lot of people
It's a part of life, but it's certainly a part of, I think, the intense pressure and the heat that people get placed under, just, you know, is hard for people to handle. You know, I can understand that.
You've never drunk much, I'm told. You allegedly have stayed away from drugs. What, I mean, was that your own doing, or was somebody smart enough to give you some good advice?
No, it's like, I think when I was young, you know, my dad drank a lot, and it wasn't really good for him, you know. He wasn't good with it, you know. Some people were different than others, and so I said, well, I don't think I want to go there, and because I didn't know what I would be like, you know. So for a long, long time, you know, I didn't drink till I probably drank when I was 22, you know. It was the first time. When I first started drinking, I had a lot of fun with drinking, you know. I was young, and you could drink a lot, and it was just something that for a while I enjoyed it, you know. I enjoyed it a lot, and over the years I'd have my moments when I'd end up, you know, on the pole at the go-go bar, but it wasn't but it was something that I think maybe because of my dad's experience, I watched carefully, and the drug thing, you know, I was around plenty of people who did drugs, you know, almost everybody I knew, you know, and I saw people really damage themselves, you know, from time to time. I didn't have any moral outlook on it. To this day, I can't say I really do. I only speak for myself, and that at the time, I saw some talented musicians really lose themselves, and I had friends who, you know, who finished themselves. I just think that for me, I was where I wanted to be. I had my music. I was very concerned about protecting it because it was the only thing in life I had, and so there was an element of control I felt I needed to keep over it, particularly when I was young. I was just concerned with protecting what I had, myself, the meager identity I'd been able to form. I was concerned with protecting and frightened of losing.
That hard-won identity, the struggle to find a voice in that famously difficult relationship with his father, drove the young Bruce Springsteen to become a great songwriter and performer. And the tension still fuels his work.
It was very, very, very intense when I was a kid. You know, I had a tremendous time breaking through that, being visible. And I think that would. I think I look around me. was just what moved me. You know, it's what made me mad, and crashing through some of those barriers is what made me feel good. You know, it just was pretty basic at first. I didn't have any big ideas about singing about these folks or those folks or being the voice of this, that, or the other thing. I think I was ambitious, and I think I wanted to make work that had impact and was relevant and addressed the ideas of the day and what I thought was important. You know, and what I thought was important was what I had seen around me for a long time, and maybe it came straight out of my life as a child with my parents. They say everything you write about, you know, happened to you before you were 12 years old. You know, there's some truth to it. There's some in the core of all these songs, even all these new ones. Who are the characters? What are they? How are they behaving? What are they thinking? It always goes straight back to my little town and the people I knew and myself and how I felt and my parents, and you're always trying to sort that stuff out, and you never do. You know, you never do. But you do bring some clarity. You know, a little more clarity as you go. And I found out, like, this is me. This is what I do.